Channel here over at Subscribestar. Thanks everyone over there and at Odyssey. So the Acolyte failed, admits Bergman over at Disney. No poop. So quick video because the show bombed. That's the summation of the video. But the issue is, well, why did the show bomb? And oddly enough, the woke crowd never really gets into that, or they find every excuse and every deflection. And then, I'd go in there and in the comment section of Mary Sue, but obviously I just get banned every time because I actually speak truth to power, and they don't like that. So most things from Disney are not doing too well lately. Most things from Hollywood, as well as the mainstream media, in case you haven't known, things are on the decline for pretty much everything coming out of the mainstream. But it's funny because the comment section here, I guess I can open it up. The comment section, there's 6 comments, are just honest with Rachel Leishman. They tell her the show failed because nobody watched it. That's why pretty much every show fails unless like one of the actor passes away or something. But Bergman phrased it differently in his interview. He said that the show was too expensive to continue for the audience numbers, which is there's 2 ways of saying this, and you just said it backwards. That's the same way as saying nobody watched our Black Girl Magic show. And to add insult to injury, the show also cost $28 million an episode, which that's an insane amount of money for something like this. But I hope Disney keeps spending themselves into a total collapse. I would love to see that happen. I don't know the likelihood of that. I guess possibly somebody could buy Disney just to buy the IP rights and do something better with it. Someone said a long time ago that Apple, I think, was the only company that had the wherewithal to do that. So who knows? Like they're just as woke as Disney. So who knows? So Leishman's solution in the article is, well, they should just continue the season but put the show on a budget, which admittedly should have been the plan right from the beginning. There's no way you should have been spending $30 million on the show, but I don't know what it takes to make these kind of shows these days. This isn't like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia or something. But the numbers were probably too low to do that. If the audience doesn't exist, they just don't exist. And the other aspect is Disney and Star Wars. They have a brand to protect. Those are probably the 2 best known. Star Wars might even be better known than Disney. The 2 best known, companies in the world, they can't look like the sets in production has to look decent at least. So Bergman and Leishman and the actor Steinberg, who I guess said, I don't know, people were being mean to her online. It's like, yeah, they say that on social media all the time, and all it does is alienate the audience. So I hope you continue. Please continue. Get in your car. The Obi-Wan Kenobi character, he got in his car and he did a little video for Disney talking about how we don't accept people being mean to their. It's like, what a straw man. People are mean to everyone on social media. Or remember when the Hobbits in Lord of the Rings? Was that Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter? I think it was the Hobbits. They get together because Rings of Power is a massive failure. And so they look like there's a guy off screen holding a Liberty device to their head, and they're holding up signs about, like, I don't know, hobbits come in all colors and some kind of just globalist nonsense. And honestly, they didn't look happy. They didn't look happy about it. So they're not being honest about why the show failed, obviously. So let me be honest. Diversity is over. And the left wing hears this, and all they can do is attack the speaker, but they can't touch the argument because it's an opinion. What this specifically means is, in this show and the Disney Star Wars in general, visually you have different ethnicities together, and the audience isn't, for whatever reason, accepting it. For me, it doesn't look organic to have different groups together in these settings because it doesn't feel like the original Star Wars. Perhaps you've seen it, and it feels like woke propaganda, because that's exactly what it is. And the left says, oh, so what you're saying, you istophobe, if non-Euro actor, then woke? And I respond to this, yes, that's true. And woke is a negative. There's a guy on Twitter called White People Are Stupid in Commercials. And you can go spend an hour reading his posts, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. You'll understand why the current state of modern media is on the decline, and why that decline is a permanent thing. And you'll just be so honk pilled that you'll only be able to speak in euphemisms. People don't accept propaganda when it's this heavy-handed. Oh, hey, black, Chinese, Indian, Irish, all come together to save the day. Yeah, the audience doesn't buy that. I mean, it's the same in whether it's Star Wars or Amazon's Rings of Power, or what was the other Amazon thing? Wheel of Time, Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time. It's the same kind of stuff where it's visually it's people of different tribes who don't belong together in a narrative. Oh, hey, look, it's exactly like Los Angeles. It turns out that it's not a galaxy far, far away. It's actually just that shithole known as California, and it is. Take the story and swap out all the non-Euro characters, and you just go to like get a bunch of Swedish actors or something, so it fits in more with the original Star Wars because that felt more organic. And what would Disney's response be if people just openly said that diversity movies were not what they were into? They would say, well, they put it in there for inclusion. Well, that's a political or religious belief. Those values don't make the story better. The audience feels it actually makes the story worse. So The Acolyte was canceled after one season. It wasn't because the show lacked quality. Well, I mean, what else would you say? It's that if it had audiences watching it, they were probably watching it for the quality. Oh, they weren't watching it. So, some might say it lacked quality, but rather because those in power allowed for hatred to fuel their decision. Well, they want to make a buck on the show, and the show wasn't making that buck. Truly, no matter what they say about the show, that is crap. That is what those who made the decision did. Well, the sentence doesn't even make sense. I tried to do a video last night on the future of Hollywood, but it just had too many hot words in it, so I put it on Subscribestar. We the audience don't value diversity, inclusion, feminism, or any of those things that people kind of roughly fall under the umbrella of woke. So the précis of that was Hollywood is going to continue to decline because the world they present of Blonde Man Bad, perhaps you've noticed that, is the mirror image of reality. Because we know blonde people. YouTube's not too good about colors. The people of European descent, the people of the light, I just say blonde for all those people, are the good guys. And the willingness suspension of disbelief for Hollywood is going to continue to die because we know what the heroes, the explorers, the rescuers, we know what they're supposed to look like. It feels like they're the main players, us, and others are just kind of NPCs going through life. And Daniel Penny is kind of a good example of that, or even Kyle Rittenhouse. I guess he's kind of Hispanic, but close enough. People want to see the Luke Skywalker character, not the actor, of course. Mark Hamill has lost his mind with talk about somebody's social media being able to destroy a character forever. That really is the power of Twitter. So people want to see the original 77 vibe. They don't want to see a black girl, a Chinese man, an Indian woman, because those groups doing things of this magnitude don't really exist in nature unless it's artificially put together. An order of Jedis who are all English, the audience will accept that because they're capable of doing great things. I mean, ethnically English, obviously. People are discovering that they're not globalists and they don't enjoy globalist entertainment. People are mostly nationalists, or at least people are very tribal, especially after the events of the past 5 to 10 years. If you took this show and race swapped everyone in it to at least being European, the audience would accept it better. There's just too many points of disbelief to overcome in a show like this. Everything is checked on the woke checklist, except for maybe physically disabled, which probably wouldn't fit the character. You have female, non-Euro. You have a Mary Sue OP character. Diversity of people who don't look organically natural, all being put together. And the other thing is this stuff is not in a vacuum. We watch more than just one movie a year or show on from entertainment. You see this kind of stuff, and the other stuff, movies and streaming shows I just mentioned, they all have this kind of stuff. And if you you mention anything, any movies or shows over the past 10 years, they're all going to have this problem of too much diversity, too much feminism, too many far left wing themes and topics, and the audience doesn't care about those kind of things. They don't find it believable enough to spend their time and money. So the viewer has to accept that they're watching propaganda. And someone like Mary Sue is, what's his name, Leishman is obviously absolutely. In fact, they want propaganda, but oddly enough, her left wing friends are not watching the show, and that's the reason these shows fail is because the left wing isn't watching. These shows are not made for the right wing. We're all Hugo Boss and I don't know whatever we're watching, probably live streams on various other platforms. So these are left wing values, all this kind of propaganda. So you'd have to ask, well, why isn't the left wing watching? And they never have an answer to that because that's the brutal reality. All these movies that fail. Oh, hey, look, some girl power movie. Oh, it bombed. Why did it bomb? Oh, because all the Hugo Boss didn't watch it. It's like they weren't going to watch it in the first place. How come the left wing didn't watch these movies? The viewer has to accept they're watching propaganda even before they get to the storyline. And then why would they bother watching it? They can look at it and say, hey, this would be better if it looked like the original Star Wars, and this show deliberately didn't do that. So the viewer decides, well, why would I waste 50 minutes watching these episodes? And it's actually kind of difficult to explain this because it's so simple. People want to see things that fit in with the original vibe. Otherwise, you have to pick up a new audience, and they fail to do that. So who is Star Wars for? It's for people who are not familiar with the original Star Wars. And the confusing thing is you still use the name Star Wars and you're calling it Star Wars or Rings of Power with Lord of the Rings or Wheel of Time or whatever. You call it all the same thing, but it's not the thing that it was. So it's for people who want to see diverse propaganda, which is why it failed because there's just not that big of an audience out there. The audience wants white Star Wars, not Larry Fink. And, more people just need to be honest about that. I mean, I guess you could couch it in terms of they want to see the Star Wars that fits in with the 77 universe of, the three main characters, the four main characters. And I said that to someone on Twitter once, and this girl started losing her mind. She goes, but those are mostly white people. Yes, that's the original show. That's what they want to see. They want to see a continuation of the original, because if you're making something that's not in accord with those metrics, those standards, you're making something new. And in their mind, they can't imagine anyone speaking like that to them, but they can't imagine something not being used for propaganda. No. Lord of the Rings, the story, it was written, it was completed 100 years ago almost. Just continue to tell that story. You can't update it because you're not a masterclass writer like Tolkien was, or even Lucas was. All you can do is screw it up. The best you can do is try to follow the artist's original intent, and they lose their mind when you say that you want Lord of the Rings to look like Lord of the Rings. Hey, you can make something new if you want, but then you're not able to attach the name Star Wars to it, and that's what mainstream media does. Is they just bait and switch. They need these names to get people in the door, but as you can see, Disney Star Wars has had, 8 or 10 streaming shows, and I think they've almost all have lost money. And if you're a left-winger, pretend that we don't care about all those hot words that they love to ad hom and deflect with, and racist, sexist, gay-phobic, whatever. Those labels, they might make you feel better. You might get a little bit of a rush of dopamine to call people that, but they don't get the audience to actually watch the shows in question. They're just labels that don't mean anything other than that they're coming from brainwashed people who accept this value system imposed on them. Those aren't real words. They're manipulative terms to control the cattle, and they don't work. Most people are not exactly going to be as honest as me, but they also don't watch the shows. And it would be better if people were honest, and you could start to I don't know, bring you're not going to turn these companies around, of course, but if you bring it to the public of this is clearly propaganda, and then normies will kind of look at it and go, wait a minute, why are these billion-dollar companies in a trillion-dollar industry making openly globalist propaganda? This is like a religious belief. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Anyway, Meli Kalikimaka, and I will see you guys all next episode.